Hi there, guys. Welcome along. It's Dave here from MyGee Trading. I thought I would just do another sort of quick video just to show you some of the latest updates that we've done to the indicator, and just also to show you some more about how the indicator actually works and how effective it can really be, for trading these markets right now. Um, so what we've done right here with Heads Up, just to begin with, is we've introduced this little basically information panel here, and what it's designed really to do is just to show you what your base ticker is that you're using for your ratio line here, and whether you've got your confirm 4 hour live or closed. So essentially, when we go into the options here, we've essentially developed the indicator now so that it can be used to trade stocks and shares or crypto or any asset really. So, for example, right now we're looking at this chart, and it's a Sapien, it's a AI kind of based crypto coin. It performs quite well in the market actually. It's quite volatile, but also it trades quite consistently. So, to trade the crypto market using the heads up indicator, you need a base ticker, meaning to measure your relative strength. From the asset that you're actually charting, you want a sort of higher market context to measure the relative strength of your asset, i.e., your crypto coin, versus the larger market. And in crypto, the larger market, especially right now in this market, is Bitcoin. That's what the larger market is. You could measure it against the entire crypto market, not including BTC. You could measure it against the entire crypto market, including BTC. You could choose any ticker you want, really, from here. Um, but just to give you an example, if you were trading a stock, for example, you could click on the NASDAQ. You could just put in QQQ, and you could have the ETF for the NASDAQ right there. Okay. And that's essentially what this information panel shows you now. It shows you your base ticker that you selected. And then, you could look at a stock, for example, like Open Door is quite a big stock right now. Um, so there you go. You're now looking at Heads Up, and you're now tracking Open Door Technologies stock on the Nasdaq, and yeah, we've now got that as a base ticker. So this is your relative strength, as you can see, of of the stock versus the larger stock market versus the Nasdaq market. So it's quite a useful indicator now. We've updated it, and it's still the same indicator. It's still operating in every way. It's still using your VWAP, up here to calculate whether the coin has met these conditions or not. It's still using your ratio line. These colors that you're seeing right now on these lines here are essentially, the default base colors that we've got in the indicator. I'm just going to switch back to, BTC. On the US dollar, I am on Coinbase, so I'm going to switch back and use that for now. And essentially, I'll switch back to Sapien as well on the on Coinbase there. So we're on US dollar Sapien. There we go, and that's the crypto coin. I wanted to show you this coin just because I've used this coin previously in tutorials. You might recognize this sort of piece of the chart here. Essentially, it's come down. It's been on a sort of bearish kind of downtrend slope, and then the market really dumped just a few days ago on Friday the 10th. And the stock market did the same. The Nasdaq, S&P 500, and Bitcoin also, lost a lot. And this would have been a hell of a trade actually if you had caught this knife here and bought this around sort of 3 cents, 4 cents. You would have been in 100% profit within probably not too long. So this coin's recovered quite quickly and it's come up. But I want to just focus on basically the recovery from this dump. I just think it's a really good example to show you how Heads Up, can be used in a general context. But this event obviously has given you a really good example to show you how things are working. So I'm on the 2 hour chart right now. I just think the 2 hour on this particular coin is looking very good right now. So we've had the dump there. We've had the ratio, your live ratio basically come down and stay pretty bearish, and then it's dumped, and obviously that big spike down there represents that. So it's come back up. It's kind of started to level out, but now what you've got here is you've got your you've got your EMA 50, which is the purple line. I'm just going to actually sort of change some of these colors back to what I used to have them as my setup. I usually have the EMA 20 as a kind of, purple, and the fast ratio I relatively have a kind of sort of cooler white color, and the fast EMA 50 I have quite a sort of light blue, and then the confirm EMA 50 have a sort of very light blue on a sort of tracer kind of line. Anyways, there we go, and that is it there. Now, I just want to show you basically, you had the live ratio line here, it started to recover, it started to come up, and the chart's actually relatively quite flat. It's really just kind of trading up, trading down, trading up. It's got very tight price action here, so it's obviously got a lot of trading, a lot of consolidation. It's not really selling, it's not really, there's not a lot of buying power, there's equal measure when it comes to the buying and the selling. So there's a lot of distribution, consolidation, whatever you want to call it. And then we start to see a little bit of a kind of increase on the VWAP and on the price action, and it starts to kind of move up gradually. What we have here on the ratio line is essentially the same kind of thing. But what you get is on a 2 hour chart as well, maybe on a 1 hour as well, but you get the EMA 50, obviously, it's coming down, even though we've got this price action recovering. The reason the EMA 50 is still coming down is obviously because we've had this big, dump here. So the EMA 50 is obviously kind of still representing, that big, sell-off, that big negative action there. And that's why you've got a sort of bearishness on the EMA 20, which is this purple line, and the EMA 50 here. But as that price action gradually starts to kind of flatten out, so does the EMA 50. And the EMA 50 starts to go really flat there, but even more reactive is the EMA 20 below it. And that does the same thing. It comes down in a sort of bearish downtrend, but then it really quickly kind of starts to move, back onto the sort of upward trend, which is, it's following that price action a lot quicker than the EMA 50 because it is a quicker EMA. But what happens at the same time is you have that ratio line, you've got the live ratio line, which is the Sapien coin versus Bitcoin, and it starts to come up. And what it starts to do with that EMA 20 is it starts to kind of use that EMA 20 as support, and it starts to bounce off that EMA 20. And what we have is a final kind of bounce off that EMA 20, but then all of a sudden we have our signal, which is basically your ratio line coming up, bouncing off the EMA 20 and coming up over the EMA 50, and then coming back down below the EMA 50. But at this point, these two EMA lines are very close, and we have a retest on the EMA 20. And then as soon as we come back across that EMA 50, we're back in this upward trend. And this trade would have been 11 cents up to roughly about 18 cents. So you're looking at about a 50% kind of movement there within, 2, 4, 6, 8 hours. So that's an amazing trade for an 8 hour trade right there. Incredible percentage on this coin. But you can see the correlation here between your EMAs. You've got the EMA 50 coming down. You've got the EMA 20 really getting very close to that EMA 50. At the same time, you've got your live ratio line getting close to the EMA 50 and using the EMA 20 as support. And this is why I wanted to use this chart as an example, because it really shows the interaction between the EMA 20 and the EMA 50. And then as soon as that uptrend is really in full swing, you've got that EMA 20 right at that point of that second candle, crossing over that EMA 50. All right. It was a fairly short-lived, kind of rebounce on that. You've basically had a lot of momentum because there's been a lot of buying, a buying pressure in here, and that buying pressure has kind of flattened out with a lot of distribution. So it obviously was going to gather momentum, and it was going to, burst open. We've now come back down again, and we're now seeing we're basically in a state of armed position with the green badge, and that's just because the price now is back above the VWAP session line there, and we've got our ratio line has popped above the EMA 50. I don't think this is going to be a full breakout like this, for example, but we're in a sort of maybe 2 to 4 hour kind of break above the EMA, the VWAP and the EMA 50 down there. So you can see our previous high levels about here on the price chart. Now, if I change the Donchi and look back to maybe a 48, it'll start to give us a bit of context here. We've got sort of high levels there. We kind of see the green dot here, and these green dots represent sort of previous high levels. But you can see we've got a kind of strong one here, and we've got another one here. I've got another one here. So we'd be looking, we're on this one right now, really. We're on this green dot here when it comes to the ratio line. So we're looking to break through these high levels, these 2, 3 dots here. We're looking to break through these levels for us to get another breakout trend, really, another breakout pump, which is what we'd be looking for. So you can really start to see, the power of the heads up indicator. It's a really good indicator to just stop you trading the market when, things are really not worth trading. I mean, you could have traded things here. That's fair and well. You could have traded, that's quite a decent movement there as well. Sort of 10% movement because we're on a 10 cent, crypto coin here. So 1 cent is a 10% movement. They're good movements, but at the same time, what your ratio line here is actually showing you your relative strength versus BTC. So it's showing you when the market is most favorable, okay, or when you're getting close to that being a very favorable uptrending market again. And you're getting shown that in 2 EMAs, which are very powerful EMAs. This indicator really is a relative strength indicator. It's heads up RS live ratio, relative strength live ratio. If you look at a stochastic RSI, for example, it's using your price action. It's using, momentum in the market basically to show you an RSI, okay, a relative strength index, okay. But what that indicator is not doing, it's not using the index on the higher market which you're trading, which is Bitcoin or, for example, the stock market. So essentially what the heads up indicator is showing you is showing you a relative strength index, but to the specific market you're trading, okay, nothing else. And it's showing you that in the form of essentially, the strength of your asset, the price of your asset versus that larger market context. This is why, this is much more accurate, to preempt this breakout than your RSI would be, for example. If you launched up an RSI right now below this indicator here, you would see your RSI doing a lot of different things. And it would be above, even if you had EMAs running along your RSI, you'd be above the EMA, probably around this section. There's no really defined moment when, the relative strength of your asset is breaking free and going above that MA, the moving averages that you'd have on your RSI. Whereas on the heads up indicator, it shows you really very accurate movements above EMAs, which are very important EMAs when it comes to, detecting your relative strength. So this indicator was designed and it served the purpose that it was designed for, and that's to show you the relative strength of your asset in any market now that you choose. You can choose, Bitcoin as your higher market. You could even choose Ethereum if you wanted. You could even choose, perhaps a larger context, ticker if you want. We could possibly look at the total crypto market cap here, which is a TradingView index. All right, there we go. We have that index there. It's showing a very similar structure though, because generally that index is made up of, a good 60 to 70% of Bitcoin at least. So very much similar measurements here. We've got the basis, the total crypto market. Very, very similar, diagram that we've been left there with. We could change that again to, perhaps we could put the total 3. I think the total market cap excluding BTC and ETH. I mean, that's interesting. Obviously, that would be interesting for, altcoins, but it just measures your altcoin versus every other altcoin. It doesn't measure it versus the larger market, context. So that will give us a slightly different situation. It's very similar, but yeah, it's a sort of heightened version of it. And we've got excluding Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stable coins. We've got ratio total market cap excluding Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stable coins to BTC. Yeah, total crypto market cap. Yeah, I would say really what you really want in this is you want Bitcoin or you want the total crypto market cap. They're the most two accurate bases that you can use if you're trading crypto. And there you go. So that's basically what you're looking at. You still get a lot of fake outs, obviously, when it comes to when you're going on a downward trend. But the thing is, your EMAs really keep you clued into the fact that, okay, you might have little rise ups. You might peak above the EMA 50 briefly. But at the end of the day, the context that you really want to focus on is your EMA. And then your ratio line really gives you that trade entry. So this is your context. This is your larger, market context is your EMAs and how they're doing right now. Are they recovering from a downtrend? Have they flattened out? Are they starting to perk up the way, you know? And then your ratio is, okay, it's time to get in a trade here. It's time to really look at, we're in positive price action here. We've tested above the EMA 50. We've come back down and we've gone back across the EMA 50. So these are the things you really want to focus on. We've done this update just really to include, you know, the indicator so that it can be used for trading stock markets or to trade any kind of base market that you want. And you can now obviously see what you've selected there. So you can kind of use the indicator to switch from one market to the other, which just makes it more versatile, makes it easier for different traders to come in and use this indicator. And it means it's not really a market-specific indicator anymore. It was mostly designed for the crypto market, but you know, you can use this indicator on any market you want right now. So anyway, guys, I thought I'd just do another quick video. You know, I hope you enjoy using this indicator. It really is like a kind of, it's like a guardrail for traders, if you will. It shows them when really your asset is not going to be performing right now against the rest of the market, you know, and then it shows you when things are turning around for you and your specific asset. It helps you go through a lot of different coins on your watch list to check what kind of state they're in, you know, whether they've got a red badge, a yellow badge, or a green badge. And also you can actually check what your coin is doing right now, whether it's on a downward trend, whether it's on an upward trend, or what kind of ratio your live ratio is doing and how close it's sitting next to your EMA 50. But you can see a lot of really obviously useful information in here when you know how to use this indicator and you know what these lines represent in the market for your asset. You know, this is basically convergence on a sort of really high scale. You've got a pretty flat, you know, moving price action. It's slightly perked up the way, but we've essentially still got a downward trend on the EMA 50, but that doesn't matter because guess what? Our live ratio line has come up and popped above it, and then we've got a breakout. It's not done that at all over this period. We've not had the ratio line come above the EMA 50 at all, but as soon as that EMA 50 starts, you know, leveling out from being pretty much downwards to leveling out, as soon as we see a crossover, you can see the pressure in the market is then pushed in for a nice big upturn. So this is how the heads up indicator is supposed to be used. It's really showing you the larger market context from whatever market you choose and the relative strength of your asset versus that market. All right, guys, I hope you have a good day. And, you know, if there's any questions, you can always send me an email. Thanks very much, guys. Take care.